Hey guys, Richard Scouten from Remountain Horsemanship. I'm actually up here in between clinics in Wisconsin, and I'm at a good friend's place, and they have a beautiful indoor facility that they've allowed me to teach out of for a few years. And I'm in here doing some videos for y'all while I wait to head to my next stop in Wisconsin. But this video is going to be about a pattern, and it's a pattern that I really like. It's a pattern that I can use for a number of things. It's a pattern that I can use to help slow a horse down. It's a pattern that I can use to help a kind of a fractious horse, maybe an anxious horse, have the consistency that he needs to get his mind right, to settle his mind, to settle his body. It's also a pattern that I can use on a more advanced horse so that I can kind of fine-tune his body, so that I can make sure that when I'm on a circle that his body is straight on the circle, which just simply means that that his nose is on the circle, his ribs are on the circle, his hips are on the circle, and he's traveling with a bend in his body. And that's something that I will teach every horse to do at all stages of riding the circle. And this pattern is really good for that. And this is a pattern that this horse and I have been doing. He's pretty new at it. This is Honcho. He's a horse, and let me tell you folks, he's a horse that I got to start back at zero just about every time I ride him. So every time I ride this horse, I have to be ready to start back at zero. And that's something that you guys should always be ready for too in your horsemanship journey. Sometimes you have to go back to zero, go back to the basics time and time again, and just build upon what little nuggets you have. But what I have here is I have a big circle. I'm riding a big circle, and I'm going to kiss this wall, ride all the way to this wall. I'm going to ride all the way to that wall, and then you see my cones. So I'm just going to ride to the inside of these cones. You can ride to the outside. You can even put two cones and ride between them. But the key is to have a precise circle. I, of course, started walking the circle, and I kind of made my tracks in the arena. But as soon as I can walk it, I start trotting it. Now, some things that I'm going to do and just kind of talk through as I do them is I'm riding two-handed. Eventually, I will be able to go to one hand. But as I go to this wall, I'm going to make sure that my right leg comes off, and I might kind of leg yield him to the wall. So anytime he's kind of fallen to the inside, I can use a leg yield to push him out where I need him to be. That's also going to put the bend in his body that I'm looking for to keep his body straight on the circle. That's one beautiful thing about the leg yield, is that it puts that bend in their body. Now, as I'm trucking along, I'm riding with two hands so that if a shoulder falls out, which means his right shoulder kind of starts drifting away from the circle and drifting to the outside, I can do a few things. One, I can just pick that outside rein up, and that can tuck a shoulder back. I can slide my outside leg forward, and I can ask him to keep his shoulders in. I can even bring my outside rein back to my hip a little bit, and that can really help what I call tuck a shoulder back in. Can really help keep a horse straight. One thing that I'm looking for is that his hips, a lot of times when you're doing a circle, especially a smaller circle, and we'll get there, a lot of times when we're riding those smaller circles, the horse's hips will kick out to the outside. And it's not, when a horse does that, he's disengaging his hips. It's not an engaging move. He's not going to be building the proper top line muscles. So a lot of times I'll make sure that my right leg might be back a little bit. And I might be saying, hey, let's keep those hips on the circle. Let's not slide them out. And I'll ride this at the trot for a good bit. And when he's doing really good and he kind of figures out what I'm asking him to do, then I can maybe try going back to one hand. But there's no hard and set rule that once you go one-handed, you need to stay there. So I'll test my horsemanship, test where my horse is at by riding one-handed. And then if I need to, yeah, not a problem. I'll grab a rein in each hand. When I'm doing this, you'll kind of see that I'm not really asking my horse for a frame on his head, but I am asking him to be soft in my hands. He's an extremely, naturally a very high-headed horse. So anytime that I can kind of widen my hands while he maintains gait and kind of have a little downward pressure on those reins and ask him to bring his head down, then that's money in the bank for this horse, because that's where he's going to find his relaxation. All right, so we got the big circle down. So then now what I'll start to do is within this big circle, I'm going to ride an inside circle. I'm going to focus where I'm going. I'm going to be particular about the bend in his body, and I'm going to be particular about him maintaining gait. I'll ride this one more time just to make some hoof tracks for me to follow. You can put cones on the inside of the circle to make your circles precise and exact. I've ridden a lot of circles, so I'm pretty good at riding circles. Come in here, look where I'm going, using my legs to shape his body, ride a nice circle, come back out to the big one. And what I would do is, if he was a speedy horse, which he certainly used to be, and is at times, is I would ride that big circle. If he got a bit speedy, then I'd come in here and I'd ride these little circles until he slowed down a little bit, and then I'd bring him back out to that big circle. And we're just trotting right now. This is something that we'll do pretty soon at the canter, but we're just trotting right now. This is my 4th circle. So I'm kind of setting up my pattern, kind of warming them up, leaving some tracks in the dirt, preparing the pattern for when I start cantering it. All right, so we've been trotting this for a little while, and I think we're okay to try some canter work. It might go to heck in a handbasket, but I'm going to try it, and if it does go to heck in a handbasket, then I can always drop back down to the trot or the walk. So I'm just going to canter this big circle a few times, maintaining the best precision that I can. You guys see this gray horse down here? Well, they've been in the trailer for a very long time together, and they've been stalled together, so they're kind of buddies. So he's going to want to kind of drift towards that gray horse, and when he does, I can pick up my right rein, add a little bit of right leg, and say, do not drift out there. Like that, don't go. And then once he's back on the circle, I just have nice guiding legs and nice loose reins. Even if they are short, loose reins. So now we're going to come up here. I'm going to pick a circle, and I'm going to ride this circle as best I can. Kind of rock my weight back, slide my right leg back. Woo. Slide that right leg back, my outside leg, so that his hips stayed on the circle. He did a really good job there, so I just put him back on the big circle. Come back over, we'll ride it again. Lean my weight back, my left leg's off, my right leg's on, saying keep those hips engaged, don't kick them out. So if he was a super speedy horse, then I would ride those little circles even longer until he started slowing down and kind of got his mind right, and then I'd put him back on a bigger circle. He's actually doing really good. I'll ride this one. Ask him to stay soft in my hands. Come down here. Focus where you want to go. As soon as your horse kind of starts leaking out, as soon as the shoulders start leaking, as soon as you start losing your inside flexion, then be fixing it. Don't let them be wrong for too long, because then they might start to think that what they're doing is correct. Good. And of course, we all know that our horses have one lead better than the other. They have one side that's better than the other. So make sure you come out here and you do it on both sides, and you get your horse to where you can ride this pattern and you can put your hand down, use your legs, use your focus, use your core, and you can have your horse ride the big circle, ride those 4 smaller circles on the inside at the walk, the trot, the canter, both leads. All right, thanks for watching, y'all. Y'all take care.